Patrick lives with ALS, an extraordinarily challenging disease, and it makes even the simplest of everyday tasks basically almost impossible. But inside his head, a running internal monologue offers an wry observation on life's absurdities during his most intimate moments. The film is called, it's a short documentary film called The Hemingway. We're joined today by one of the co-directors, Evan Mathis. Evan, welcome to Cinemaphile.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm really, really happy to be here, Mike.
I'm happy to have you. I really enjoyed it. It is a short, punchy, concise, entertaining, and at the same time also very empathetic view of Patrick's life and his observations on his own life. Tell me a little bit about how you got to know Patrick and what prompted the Hemingway to take shape.
Patrick and I have known each other for, 25 or more years, actually, since the late 90s, when we were both up and coming directors and designers in New York City. I was working for a bunch of the design agencies. Patrick was running the tape room at Broadway Video. But we knew each other through sort of our mutual friends. Patrick was an absolute madman, and we hung out and ran together. And over the years, we collaborated more than a few times. And then in 2005, Patrick was diagnosed with ALS. Basically, ALS is considered a death sentence that will take somebody's life within 3 to 5 years. And so here we are 20 years later, and Patrick is still alive and vibrant and making films. And it was a great collaboration that started, almost 3 years ago at this point, when Patrick sent me the script for the Hemingway. I read the script. It had all of the things that a really good short film should have. It's got the highs, the lows, the fallen comrade. It's got dark humor. The thing is it doesn't sentimentalize Patrick's condition with the disease. It's really honest about what it is. With that, we didn't want to make it like an oh poor me story, because Patrick is a vibrant person who has his highs, has his lows. He's incredibly funny. So when I saw the script, I said yes, let's make this. And so I put together a treatment for it. When Patrick writes a script, it's literally with his eyes, one letter at a time. When putting together the screenplay, really wanted to emphasize was the effort that just the most basic things like communication take from Patrick to be able to still have his voice heard in the world.
And that all comes across in the film, his sense of humor, his sense of irony, and the honesty of the relationship with one of the other people that he knows. And we won't get into too much detail about that, but all of it comes through in the film. And again, I think it's around 9 minutes in length, something like that, and it packs a lot into it. So it's really a fun watch. Again, these terms are relative to the filmmaking, but what we do see what he is going through as you described it. It's sobering, but at the same time, he's honest.
The journey that we went on to make this film was just the actual making of the film had its ups and downs as well. We managed to make the entire film with a budget, I think, of less than $5,000. That included airfare, hotel. Everybody that was a part of this project, really wanted to see the film made. Our director of photography was John Sawyer. And John Sawyer is somebody that both Patrick and I had known over the years. He used to help run Liberty Studios, which was a little independent film studio in the East Village, where mostly like hip hop videos were shot. But it was the one white psych stage that we had access to back in the day that didn't cost us an arm and a leg to use. John was a great collaborator back then, and I think now he works at Apple and is still a fantastic DP. So we were bringing in all of favors, all of the folks that would help get this done. That included Doug Prey, who's a spectacular documentarian in his own right, and Doug had worked with Patrick on his previous film, TransFatty Lives. So Doug was familiar with the process, and when you're making a film, with somebody that has ALS and can only communicate in very, very slow terms. Sometimes feedback can take a day or two just for Patrick to get his thought typed out. We had to go in with a tight plan, and we were able to shoot over the course of 2 days. And then the post, the editorial of and all the special effects and stuff took a year and a half, just because a something like this isn't the day job. It's got to get done, needs the time and effort necessary, even if there wasn't budget, to still make it look good, sound good, cut well, to be able to tell the whole story in the short amount of time that we were able to.
Now, Patrick is listed as co-director. You and, by the way, we're speaking with Evan Mathis. He is, just as I described, co-director of a terrific short documentary film. Yeah, I mean, it almost feels like a narrative film, to be honest with you.
It's weird because it got into a bunch of different festivals as a bunch of different things, because it doesn't really hold hard and fast to the rules of a documentary. It doesn't hold hard and fast to the rules of a narrative film, but it does tell a real story. It tells a true story. It tells, what Patrick has to go through to just do sort of the basic things of everyday life.
So, what is that relationship? As you said, he's a filmmaker going way back. In terms of, well, and you were friends. You guys have been friends for quite a long time. What we see on screen, from a personal perspective, this has to be incredibly satisfying that the two of you were able to work on this together, and especially to be able to produce a high quality product as well.
Absolutely. There's the intention of this was just to make the thing. Like, we never said, we didn't have a festival plan. We didn't have like no larger sort of aspirations with it. We just wanted to make a great little film. It is incredibly sort of gratifying to see the reaction of, the audience, and to get the awards and to get into the film festivals. But what's even more important is when I've gone to the screenings, everywhere that we've gone, there's so many folks that have experience with somebody in their family or in their life that has dealt with ALS. It's a very difficult disease to sort of process, because when you see somebody with ALS, they are basically unable to move or communicate. But and that has specific sort of connotations in our society. But what you don't realize is there can absolutely be a bright and vibrant mind that has so much to say. That's kind of one of the things that we tried to do with this film, is to really sort of open up that world. And that's why once when I got the script, I really felt like we had to take the journey into Patrick's mind, and to see where he goes with his thoughts and where he would want to be, which is, back in New York City when we both lived in the East Village, and he could still eat a Katz's pastrami sandwich. We put a ton of little Easter eggs in the film. The magical subway through the sky is the F train that we used to have to take all the time. In the world of tomorrow, we put Katz's Deli up on top of a skyscraper, and on location, I just did a quick LiDAR scan with my iPhone of Patrick, and actually put Patrick inside the Katz's Deli in the sky as sort of a memento mori to his love of the pastrami sandwich.
What is the Hemingway? Is that a reference to something else? I know what it is in the film, obviously, but I didn't know this reference before.
It's not meant as a reference to a person, or necessarily. It is, it's sort of happenstance. Like, it's like Hemingway has kind of been a running theme, even subconsciously, with Patrick for many years. Like, when Patrick first lost the use of his body and couldn't use his hands and fingers anymore to communicate, and he started to use the iWriter, the first thing he did was write a post on Facebook titled "A Farewell to Arms." So
Okay, okay. That's very clever and wow. Okay.
and so, like, the Hemingway in this case, it's more like, Hemingway's work is so anguished and so determined, and you sort of get the relationship of what the Hemingway in the film is versus a Hemingway in the real world.
Yeah.
We did keep it as the title, just as a bit of a misdirect, because it sets an anticipation for something that's probably a little more literary than where we actually went with it. That's part of the fun of what we were able to do.
Yeah, I remember when I was growing up, especially teen years, guys would come up with nicknames for a lot of things. You know what I mean? So this is kind of in keeping with that kind of sensibility. When you're among your buddies, you say things and they become kind of a meme that you all understand without having to get into any detail. So that's very cool.
It's the title, once you get the joke, is pretty funny.
Yeah, it is funny as well. There's a lot of other things. And again, spending time with Patrick from his point of view and also just in terms of what needs to go on around him. And I can't imagine sort of the psychology, how long that takes to get used to know that you're almost completely reliant on someone other than yourself is jarring. And it comes across in the film as well.
It's funny, like with the film, we tried so many different things. For those that aren't aware, like when Patrick speaks, it's air quotes about speaks. He uses a synthetic voice that is definitely more Stephen Hawking than AI. At the beginning of this, tried to synthesize Patrick's voice through some AI tools. We had some folks at Google involved, and we could never get the humanity out of it that we really needed to. It was at that point that we were reaching out to actors and trying to get some folks involved. We were able to get J.R. Reed, who is just a wonderful incarnation of what Patrick was like when he could speak. And so it was is very, very natural. And I feel like we were sort of better off going with somebody that wasn't a recognizable voice or as recognizable as some of the folks that we had on our short list. That was a very, very important part of kind of showing Patrick's outward voice when you first hear him speak and then hearing his inner monologue through an actual human voice.
Yeah, well, congratulations to both of you for your work on the Hemingway. And also, again, in the sort of the world of cinema, you're able to do multiple things at once. And this film certainly is a very good example of that. It's a really solid, entertaining, funny, great graphics as you were describing, really funny. They sort of fit with not only are they creative, but they fit the sensibility of what seems like Patrick Sean O'Brien is.
Really, really appreciate that. These days, I don't get to get my hands dirty as much as I used to, when I was doing film titles and VFX and a lot of that. And it was really good to kind of get back to my roots.
Thank you for the Hemingway. I hope that this ongoing friendship and collaboration continues in whatever form it takes. And yeah, all the best. I know we're in that part of the year when everybody's eyeballing who's going to get what and nominated and all that other stuff. I'm telling you, it's a thoroughly enjoyable film with a lot of heart and a lot of humor. And I really feel like I don't know Patrick Sean O'Brien, but I feel like he captured his essence in this film. And my congratulations to you, Evan Mathis, for your work here as co-director. And moving forward, I hope you come back again and join us.
Absolutely. Thanks again, Mike. It's been a pleasure to be here.